Former President Donald Trump is holding a rally in the battleground state of Wisconsin. And with just 30 days until the election, both candidates are campaigning hard in the crucial swing states that will decide the next president. Yesterday, Trump returned for a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, the site of his first assassination attempt. There, he was also joined on stage by billionaire Elon Musk. And at that event, Trump honored the victims of the shooting. But he also suggested, without evidence, that his political rivals may have tried to kill him. CNN's Steve Contorno joins us now from today's rally in Wisconsin. Steve, what is Trump talking about today? As I understand, it sounds like he's taking the stage.
All that stuff. Yeah, he's speaking right now just behind me, Omar. Donald Trump picking up right where he left off, criticizing the Biden-Harris administration for the response to Hurricane Helene in North Carolina and Georgia. He's continuing to spread what some have said are baseless attacks about the response from FEMA. But other than that, it's been pretty standard Trump rally fare. He's been criticizing the administration's immigration policies, attacking Vice President Harris's competence. He said, quotes, "I've been on a mission to rescue our country and to give you back the country that you live in, the country you were born in." He said nothing will stop him, quote, "not even in the face of death," clearly referencing the multiple assassination attempts on his life. Now, he's delivering this message in Dodge County, Wisconsin. It's one of dozens of small rural counties in this state where his campaign is hoping to run up the score in this election. He won this county by about a 2-to-1 margin last time, and his campaign has been working aggressively to match that margin. And if you look at the polling in this state, you understand why they are concerned. He is the latest poll from Marquette shows this race at 52-48, with Harris having the slight edge. Donald Trump is working hard to reverse that. He has been here 4 times in the last 9 days, and I expect he'll be here quite a bit more, Omar.
I expect you will be right. Steve Contorno, thank you so much. Meanwhile, Vice President Kamala Harris is launching a massive media blitz this week, starting today and over the next several days. She'll sit down for interviews with 60 Minutes, The View, The Howard Stern Show, The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. And today, the top women's podcast, according to Spotify, Call Her Daddy, will release an interview with Harris. That will be followed up by a town hall in Las Vegas later this week with Spanish language Univision TV. So joining me now to talk about this and more on the race for the White House is Ron Brownstein. He's a CNN senior political analyst. I'm also joined by Brian Stelter, CNN's chief media analyst. So, Brian, I want to start with you and this media blitz, because obviously Harris has been criticized for not doing enough media interviews. Do you think that the slate that she has right now will satisfy some of that criticism? And what do you make of this sudden turnaround?
Well, let's get one thing out of the way. The bad faith actors, including the Trump campaign aides who want Harris to give press conferences and want her to be grilled by journalists every day, they're never going to be satisfied. That's never going to happen to the degree that those critics want. Let's just be honest. The Harris campaign is going to do what it believes it needs to do in order to win the race. And that means going on Stephen Colbert's show. That means going on The View on Tuesday. That means going on shows where she's going to be welcomed, where she's not going to be interrogated. And that's just the reality of campaigning, in the same way that Donald Trump usually mostly goes on right-wing shows, like on his friends, the Fox News shows. So that's the reality here. But I do think it's notable that Harris is going out and doing a lot of TV this week. It is a sudden change in her strategy, and it aligns with the early voting schedule. She is now out there talking about registering to vote, getting your ballot early, and having a plan to vote. And that's the reason why she's doing all these TV appearances. By the way, that Call Her Daddy podcast just came out. That podcast is a very big deal. Even though it usually is about sex and relationships, this is a 40-minute conversation where Harris talks about reproductive rights. She also opens up about her mom. So a lot of people, including from the Trump campaign, are going to ridicule Harris for going on a sex podcast. But it actually is one of the most in-depth interviews of Harris this year.
Yeah, and that just the podcast form alone has the opportunity to go into much longer form than she'll get the chance to on, say, 60 Minutes or even on The View. And Ron, I want to zero in on the timing of this, because what do you make of the Harris strategy to launch a media blitz right now? I mean, we're 30 days out. Is there anything that sticks out to you?
Well, I think Brian's point about people are voting, and Election day is not kind of the moment of our election. It's kind of the end of our election now, right? I mean, it's kind of a rolling process for several weeks. Harris's campaign has been a pretty cautious one in a lot of different respects. As you said, they have not done a lot of conventional media appearances. Her messaging has not been that edgy. I think the underlying assumption of the campaign, as articulated to me by some people involved in it, is that particularly in the states that matter most, they believe there is a majority that does not want to reelect Donald Trump, does not want to put him in power for 4 more years. Even if they thought he was good on the economy, they're resisting him as a threat to their rights and their values and to democracy. And that therefore her job is less to make the case against Trump than it is to reassure voters who are already inclined to vote against him that she is an acceptable alternative. Now, there are Democrats who are uneasy with that approach, but I think this media strategy by and large continues to reflect that. She's putting herself in front of audiences that they are hoping, obviously, they can move over to their side. But I would be surprised if she is on The View with a really slashing message about Donald Trump. I think a lot of this is about introducing her and reassuring voters she thinks just need enough confidence not to vote for Trump again.
And Brian, I want to bring you in on a little bit of the Trump media strategy side of things, because as I mentioned earlier, Trump held a rally at the site of his first assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania yesterday. He was joined on stage by the owner of the platform X, Elon Musk, who jumped around on stage, called himself Dark MAGA, painted what I think is fair to say a grim picture of the future of democracy if Trump loses. Take a quick listen.
President Trump must win to preserve the Constitution. He must win to preserve democracy in America. Text people now. Now. And then make sure they actually do vote. If they don't, this will be the last election. That's my prediction. Nothing's more important.
Look, Elon Musk has an unbelievably huge platform, especially online. How do you explain his transformation from someone who voted for Democrats and Obama in the past to what we see now, Dark MAGA, and especially in terms of the context of the platform that he presides over?
The phrase dark MAGA is interesting, and people might not be familiar with it. This is a meme, an online idea that has taken root over a number of years. Think about the Batman movie, The Dark Knight, the dystopian view of Gotham. When you hear the idea of dark MAGA, it's referring to this idea of an unleashed, unhinged version of Trump, a second Trump administration with no limits on its power. The idea of Trump saying, "I'm your retribution," a more authoritarian version of Trumpism. That's the idea that drives dark MAGA. Even though some of the memes, some of the jokes might be sarcastic or edgy, there's a very real idea behind the idea of dark MAGA. So when you hear someone like Elon Musk say he's entirely on board, even with the more authoritarian impulses of Trump, that says something. That says that he's been radicalized over the years in his politics. Musk is also using his platform X to drive support to Trump. I noticed when I logged in yesterday during the Trump rally was always at the top of my feed. It almost felt as if he was forcing it up algorithmically to make sure everybody was watching the rally. So we're going to see that kind of support from Musk, him trying to tip the scales in Trump's favor. And I just think we should take a moment to talk about what he said at the end there, that this will be the last election if Trump does not win. That kind of rhetoric, right? And we do hear some of that from the left as well. That kind of rhetoric is going to make it very hard for all of us to be Americans, to be neighbors next year, right? We're going to have elections in the future. We're going to have elections after this year. We all have to find a way to live together in 2025 and beyond. But the rhetoric from someone like Musk saying this will be the last election, it's going to have dangerous consequences, I fear.
And Ron, we've only got a few seconds left. Sorry to put you in this position, but I saw you react to a little bit of what Brian said on the last election. Is there something you wanted to get in?
Yeah, I mean, this is the Flight 93 rhetoric that we saw from Republicans, from Trump before January 6th. The idea that if Democrats win, America as we know it will cease to exist. This is our country and we're taking it back. That kind of language that Trump used before January 6th. If you in fact believe that a Democratic win means this is the last election, or a Democratic win means America will be disfigured beyond recognition, then any means necessary are justified to prevent that outcome. And I think, again, this kind of rhetoric is laying the groundwork for another post-election period of unprecedented strain and potentially violence.